Hey,
What's up, Golky? Back
how's it
again.
going?
Great to be streaming again, dude. I haven't been on live stream in forever.
I know, man. It's been a minute.
Ever since I lost my premium Wi-Fi office, I no longer have a good streaming setup. But honestly, you don't really need that good of any like video, or it really is all about audio. So
Yeah,
we'll just have to be doing this more. And I guess StreamYard works pretty well too. So
yeah.
you know,
So are
so
you streaming from Dipcatcher right now?
yeah. So here I'm
Okay, so
gonna go ahead and okay, I see this now. I'm
tweet
gonna
the tweet. Oh, there we go.
yeah. So here, let's share the links. I'm gonna tweet on Twitter, going live now to discuss Maximus. Going live now. Let's discuss Maximus trustless stake pooling, trustless hex stake pooling. So can we see the YouTube chat from here? How do I?
Yeah, so you should be able to see it on the right, I believe. I think I can only see. Oh wait, here we go. Comments. Live viewer comments show up. StreamYard. This is an example. Okay, so yeah, you can see comments.
Okay.
And then I'll
So I just tweeted it there. I'm gonna also share it in.
I dropped it in Telegram.
Okay, I'm sure in Dipcatcher Telegram. Going live. I'm gonna drop it in. Someone tagged.
Did you tweet it?
From my own. Yeah.
It says you're unable to view this tweet because this account owner limits who can. That's weird. Let me see if I can view it on my computer.
I block your ass.
I don't think so.
Where's the?
It's not showing up on your Twitter.
It's not. Oh well, I'm on Twitter Premium, so it delays a couple seconds before it sends the tweet. Are you able to see my profile now?
Yeah, but I don't see that tweet about. All right, maybe I'll just tweet it.
I'm also some people in hex trading are talking about it, so I'm gonna add it to their channel too. Going live to discuss. Come listen about the Maxi Premium discount cycle. About trading.
Yeah, I don't see your tweet, man. I don't know if you tweeted it.
Okay, check now.
There we go.
Hey, what's up, Mr. E, our guy? OX Will, our other bro, dude. All of the bros are all here.
The Genesis Gladiators.
Archimedes Martinez the second. When Maxi, dude? That's what I'm asking myself every day. I'm like, oh, very soon. Testnet Maxi, it's live. Go check it out. Once everything is all ironed out, we're gonna just kind of roll with it. Actually, something that I'll want to talk about today. I actually thought of a really good way how to kind of crowdsource the audit and get to launch sooner. And so I think that this is there's one way that I figured out that we could do this that could work out pretty well and have the desired effect. So we'll have to chat about that once the links go out. Naeem Khans, what's up, Naeem? All the Maximus Telegram team.
For real.
Yeah, shout out everyone in the Telegram chat. t.me/Maximus DAO. Thank you all so much. I'll post this in Hedron too.
Ooh, that's a bold move.
I'll just say we're talking about how Maximus is integrating Hedron with our stake pools.
Yeah, I talked about the audit a little bit yesterday on my stream, and one of the beautiful things about Maximus is that it's so simple. I don't know. Last time I checked, the code was like 130 something lines of code, but I think that was before we integrated Hedron. What do you think the lines are? How many lines of code do you think?
I don't know, because I added a bunch of like developer comments and documentation to it. So, I mean, it's very few, and it's all very readable, and everything just like makes sense. Like there's not any complicated math. There's not any complicated like minting or any type of complicated like staking really. Everything's very just like straightforward. It uses a tool called Open Zeppelin. It's based on this library called Open Zeppelin, which is these like pre-audited kind of boilerplate smart contract libraries that if you just use them as directed, it actually alleviates a whole class of errors. So like that whole section is already audited. So like the minting section, like that's audited. The thing that real like the only thing that really we need to just know for the audit is it's really like are there any types of ways that somebody could just like brick the contract by flooding it with minting or minting like just the things that maybe we aren't quite aware of, like if someone can like somehow get the like integers to like not line up properly, so when you try to divide something break, like weird little things like that someone would know. But as far as like kind of like game theory and like execution of the contract, there's really nothing like complicated, really nothing novel at all. And so so an audit, like that's what I'm really kind of looking for, to kind of just like iron those out and give me some assurance. But here's the idea I actually had, because like audits cost, I mean, depending on the complexity and like timeline, excuse me.
Bless you.
Audits can cost like, depending on the scope of it, a couple thousand to like, say like $50,000 to get like an audit. I think ours would be on the lower end of that, but one way would be just like for, you or me or just like anybody to just kind of like pool some funds together and just like pay for an audit and then wait for the audit to launch before we launch anything to mainnet. But another strategy for audit would be if we did like a 20-day mint and a 30-day stake, where we all put money that we're willing to lose to a compromise, and we put up a bounty where we say, hey, if you can compromise this contract, do it. There's like a say we pull together $50,000 in that, like kind of like the bounty stake. That's one way we could like in effect get an audit, where it's like there's like a big reward that we could otherwise be paying to an auditor to like find the same vulnerabilities, but like just make it like a just like a bounty, and then use that, and then maybe the $30,000 bounty over the month stake, that worked, got people to trust that the whole system works. You get to experience the whole thing end to end within 2 months. And then maybe we roll out another one where it's like, okay, we're going to do a bigger, we're going to put more money in and just kind of ratchet it up. That's one way we could do, get to mainnet faster, get the same thing you would get out of an audit, because like because we could pay an auditor and they could miss a vulnerability, because like they've already got their money up front, and so like they could miss something. But if there's like an active bounty reward, which is kind of like just like a normal bug bounty program, that may be a way that we can just like get moving and start experiencing the benefits, because there's still benefits of the short stake. Because a lot of people, they wish they could do these like 30-day rolling stakes, but they can't. So that's just one idea. We'll have to talk more in the Telegram chat if that's something that people are comfortable doing. But that's like a way that people can contribute to the audit and we can get eyes on this that are focused on trying to steal those funds. So that was just the idea that came to me today. Because I see Mr. E said there that Alex said Hedron cost him $50,000 to get audited with CERTIC, and that makes sense because in Hedron there's they have their own type of origin address. So, and since there's no origin address here, that's kind of like what's that saying? It's like we're like, we're not, no one's like, making money off of something, and so it's like, no one has that incentive to do that. So that just kind of came to me, but what do you think about
that? It's an interesting idea. I probably, if we're going to be putting that much money up in a test stake, like challenging someone to take the funds, if we have those funds, I think it would be better to just pay for the audit. But yeah, like you said, it is really expensive. And, us not creating a team budget or a way to receive funds through Maximus, like without charging fees or anything, that would come out of our pockets. And so it is kind of an interesting situation we're at. I think probably the first step would be to actually get a quote with CERTIC or one of the other mainstream, because I do think if they looked at our project, like the complexity is definitely a big factor of price for the audit. And so, maybe we see those, and then we could crowdfund that if we want to do that. Because I think I was looking at, although the coin listing sites aren't, like, I know everyone has their own opinion about them, but those bigger name auditors do provide a badge on those sites. So I do think as a trust factor, people participate because of that. But yeah, I don't know. And I also don't know if the bounty thing would be faster, because of the 30 days, and, but Will said, yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, personally, I think I would love like an intermediary step between that audit. I mean, obviously getting the quotes once we finish test phase. And then I'd love to see if we can get some just reviews from people that know Solidity, and maybe we can get someone to perform an audit that won't charge us, 10 grand or something. That would be awesome. But if not, we would have to figure that out. Yeah, audits definitely important for sure. I know it's a lot of people need that. So
see, here's the flip side. What if like some people, their criteria for buying something is audit, and what if that, like, during the time of while it's live, say it wasn't audited, but like anyone can audit, because that's things like that no expectations of others. Honestly, that should even extend to the audit. Like, you should audit it yourself.
Yeah.
And so what if that like enabled some type of discount where, like, it was too risky, and so it limited, those buyers for maybe some period of time, and maybe that's a good way to get more hex, is to audit it yourself and take that risk that other people aren't willing to, who maybe aren't able to audit it, or and because like there's like every single rug pull thing that you see out there, like all these flash on things, they've all been audited. And like, Hex was successful and hasn't broken, not because of the audit, it just from a well executed contract. Like, audit in Hex, because I've read it, all it did was highlight that during the Bitcoin free claim, if someone would have like wasted a ton of money, they could have like messed with the like minting, like something with like how you prepared for the snapshot. Like, there was a way that someone could have, like, someone that had a ton of Bitcoin could have like done something weird. That was like the only thing it found. And then it like noted that like gas for the gas for the end staking could exceed the allowed block size, because previously the max length stake was supposed to be 45 years. And so the audit helped them determine that they should reduce it to a 15-year stake on the maximum side. So, like audits, they're not always perfect. And ours is not so simple that the, like the audits that failed to catch the vulnerability, those are likely just like, where the scope of whatever they're auditing is like beyond what their testing suite was able to do. And also, how do you know, what if like the auditor gives you a quote, they're like, pay half before the audit, pay half midway through or whatever. And then the team like sends it into the auditor tells them what's wrong with it, and then they don't pay. And then the auditor just like steals the funds, or like say the auditor, like just, they got paid and then they were able to exploit it. Like there's things that it looks like was the case, like things that only an auditor would have been able to do. So
wait, I don't know what you're talking. What are you talking about right now?
Like, remember back in like 2020, all those like food token things.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot which food token it was, but there was one of these like, yield farming, like rebase things where, the like vulnerability that was exploited was like, something that like the auditor like had, somehow indicated. So it's almost like as if the auditor like, they like just, exploited the contract that they had audited, so they get paid and then they don't, they don't reveal everything wrong with it, and then they exploit it. Obviously with like qualified firms like Certic or whatever, that's probably less the case, but but like, just trusting an audit just because someone said something's audited, that doesn't always protect you. And there's like a bunch of instances that, which you don't hear about so much anymore. But I remember like DeFi summer 2020, like when all that hysteria was going on, there was like a lot of like funny business with audits and like things that claimed to be audited. But
I think audits are important because people like, most people don't have an understanding of Solidity, and so it provides them with the insights from someone that does. And I think the reason people look to those like top 3 name brand audits is because they can be trusted probably more. But I think you did have a good point. The rug pulls and everything, those have been audited as well. So it's just, I'm at a place where like, if we are going to crowd in for an expensive ass audit, I would so much rather our community use those funds to mint Maxi, right? Than give it to an auditor. But I think if it's what we want to do, it's what we're going to do. Just to clarify everything for the people listening, we do plan on getting an audit. We're not trying to get around that. Right now, we're currently testing Maximus. It just makes sense for us to finish this test, the Hedron integration. And then once it's tested, we're going to take it and get quoted for these audits. So we'll see what that comes out to. Hopefully it's simple.
Yeah, because the code needs to be like, when I was looking at like how to kick off the process, like with Certic, you provide them like, the finalized contract. And already through the testing, I've found things that I want to optimize and things that can be improved. So, like now that those things have been resolved, and then once we see, because the part that like because I've very thoroughly tested the like minting and redemption of the hex and the staking of the hex, and that all like works pretty flawlessly. But I had this will be the first time I test the Hedron integration. And so, it
looks like we do have a question from Hexecutioner. Will Maximus make MaxLink HSI stakes on Hedron? So no. The integration that we've built with Maximus is enabling the contract to mint Hedron for the MaxLink hex stake the day before the stake ends. And then the Maxi holders will be able to claim the hex principal plus interest and their portion of the hedron from the contract after the stake ends. Yeah, guys, if you guys have any questions, this is kind of a Q&A, so feel free to drop comments. We were just discussing the audit, but we're happy to answer any questions you guys have.
You see what Mystery said? I didn't know that.
Certic missed a huge gas efficiency with hedron. Luckily, other devs noticed it before launch. Wow. I didn't know that either. That's awesome.
Yeah, because that's like a whole other part of the audit is like, outside of like the security vulnerabilities, it's, just like gas optimizing it, because like, if your contract is erroneously consuming too much gas, then like, that's less money your users are going to have to like hoard whatever asset you're building. And so, the gas efficiency is pretty important.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, man. So those videos you made were really, really helpful. That slide deck, you should like publish that as like a PDF or as like just on we should add that to the website or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
it came together really well. It was funny. I was using Loom, and on the free version, you have a 5-minute time limit. So it was funny. They actually had like a countdown timer, and I was like trying to get through it. And it actually kind of forced me to like be succinct in thoughts. And but yeah, really happy how that came out. Kay said one benefit of an audit is that it shows you're serious about the project. Absolutely. I agree. I think people look to that as kind of a not only a trust factor, but the willingness of the team to get that done. I think, as we were just discussing a little earlier, we are kind of in an interesting position because we're basically creating a free tool for everyone to use, and we haven't built in any team budget or pre-mine or anything like that. So, currently it would be us paying out of pocket for a pretty expensive audit, but likely we'll talk about possibly crowdfunding for this if that's what community wants to do. Mr. E says Maximus doesn't need HSI stake since it's locked into the treasury and won't be touched until the stake ends and people redeem their Maxi tokens for the hex and hedron in the treasury. Absolutely. So with the HSI stakes, the core benefit is the transferability, the optionality to liquidate, get liquidity for your stake. And I was actually talking about this in the longer stream I did yesterday, but there's kind of 3 things being discussed right now with optionality and liquidity. And so one was like the Gnosis safe, right? And that's with stake wrap being able to transfer a Gnosis safe. And so you look at that, and that's an actual wallet transfer. That's everything that's in that wallet you're giving to someone else. With Hedron, by creating HSI stake, you have this NFT, and you can trade an entire stake, right? So the approach with Maximus, which is really interesting, is it's almost the most proportional, because rather than having to give up an entire stake and sell that for liquidity, you can sell a portion of it, like whatever you want. If you just need a little money or you want to lock in some gains at a premium, it enables you to do that. So Hexecutioner said 7x bonus at the moment would be great thing by making an HSI, but I'm not sure how it would affect the code. So the bonus, claiming the bonus, that's something we are working on right now. Basically, if we can launch before the bonus periods end, we would build a function in that would enable the contract to claim the bonus by making the native. The native sounds like, yeah. So
yeah. And I mean, the only real reason to do the HSI, other than like, if you want to sell your whole stake, is to get the hedron advance. So like, if you have the HSI stake, you can mint your hedron that you would have to wait till the end. You could mint it before it's done. And I thought about that. I thought that maybe there could be some benefit, but that just like grew the complexity of it, because then you have to like deal with not only minting the hedron, to take that advance, but paying it back through the contract. And so like what would the contract, so say we mint the hedgerin and then like, it's like, do we just like give it out to people and then, then we'd have to rely on everyone to pay it back. And then we can, so like, it didn't really make sense to do that advance. And just like it would have been hard to, because like the way that I built the like distribution tool where it, you have 1% of the maxi, you get 1% of the hex. The way that works, that involves the burning, like burning is like an integral step in that. And just in how I did it, because it's just like very simple and like gas efficient, and it relies on there's a single number that the whole system looks at to know how many, hex per maxi or how many hedgerin per maxi. If you're like allocating those tokens, with like where burning it is not part of it, it just made it more complex and, would have required like a whole, where like you're mapping like a number of hedgerin, per address. And then, if they transfer the address, like it just kind of gets messy. So like taking care of the like redemption of available funds and burning, just like locking, like just doing that at the end, that just makes it, much more simple. And just like reduces, potential errors. So
I think that's one of like our core beliefs is simplicity. I think when I think back on how we've kind of like thought through this, simplicity is like the key, right? And we've been able to do that. Like I think we're building one of the best products on the market, and it's the most simple by far. Every like the game theory with a couple other projects right now is like so intense. Like I don't know. It's just like really, really hard to understand. I think Maximus provides people can understand it probably within like 5 minutes, and they're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're trying to make
intuitive. It's intuitive, and it just makes sense. Like it's like how it should be. It's like the like default way that something like this should work. And I think there's a lot of there is like entertainment value in some of the like kind of mental gymnastics around like all the game theory of like bonus periods and like mint schedules and like all that stuff, which like that definitely draws people in. But like for what I really believe that Maximus is contributing is it's enhancing the financialization of hex.
Absolutely.
So I think that like in this case, like treating Maximus kind of like a basic primitive is ideal, and that where it's like simple and it's like where it achieves the sole purpose of it encapsulates the stake as a whole, and it brings fungibility to that stake. And I think that unlocks a whole lot of things for hex.
Naeem said, is it ideal to have maxi supply be as large as possible? I'll let you answer that.
So it kind of doesn't matter what the unit supply is. In our case, the 1-to-1 was chosen purely for simplicity and like just like for it to be like intuitive. Where it, like you put one hex into the contract and you mint one maxi. Like I think that like, and then during that mint phase, you can actually redeem. So like, and just you being able to redeem 1-to-1 until the stake starts. So like that 1-to-1 ratio is, that could be truly arbitrary. Like that, it truly doesn't matter what it is. 1-to-1, just like, made sense. And it actually makes the end, like the distribution calculation a little bit easier because like at the start, that redemption rate is 1-to-1. And then at the end of the stake, that redemption rate in the contract gets updated to the total number of hex after the stake divided by the total number of maxi that were issued.
But so, Mr. E had a really good point, and this is something we touched on before. I think the goal, like a goal we could shoot for, and I said yesterday we can't promise anything, or we have no idea what kind of participation we're going to get, but getting 150 million hex would maximize the 10% bigger pays better bonus, which would be awesome. But the cool thing with Maximus is that it's only upside for more people to come in, right? Like And I think that's very different from the other sacrifices that have been going on, because it's like, if, you know, with the way their bonus structure and their bonding curve works, it's like the whales take up the multiplier from everyone else, right? Whereas through this mint phase, the more people that join Maximus and getting closer to that 150 million only benefits everybody. So equally, right? And so I think that's really awesome. But yeah, at the same time, you can also think of it as if, you know, it is like a community pool, but in a way it's like you're kind of on your own as well. Like if you just minted Maxi, waited 15 years and redeemed your hex, it's almost as if you know, we're staking on your own with the benefit of these other bonuses and the option for liquidity, right? So in a way, it's almost like the upside from the people are like joining, it's only upside, but at the same time, you're almost on your own as well if you just participate and redeem, right? So interesting ways to look at it. Will said, can you touch on the Howey test, common pool leg of the test?
Yeah. So what that means is like the pool, like, so with the Howey test, the pooling is where the pooling of funds is used to finance some type of like executive or like managerial effort to produce returns. So in this case, you know, like the common pool, you know, one, it's like not like, you know, controlled by anyone. It's not like we are selling you anything. Like no one's selling you anything. Like you're not, you know, putting your money into a pool and then getting, you know, something, you know, like we, you know, because like we don't get the money, and then you get the money. It's your money, and so that's how I think that you know applies. And like, you know, the whole, you know, mint your own, you know, coins, you know, you do your own, like there's no like execution effort that you're relying on anybody to produce returns.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so that's, you know, kind of how, you know, how that works.
Yeah.
And,
it's you interacting. Like after launch, we actually have no admin privileges. We, you know, it will execute on its own. So it's you interacting with the contract. So yeah, I spoke on this yesterday. No expectations of the work of others. I think the way we've structured this and we're launching it is we'll definitely pass that test for sure. Because it's out of our hands after we launch it. So
yeah. And in a way, it's almost like as if you're lending your money to the Maximus contract. It's like exactly, you mint a hex, you know, you mint the Maxi, and that's like your receipt for having lent a hex to the Maximus contract. And then the Maximus contract at the end allows you to, you know, redeem your Maxi for the hex that you had lent, plus the, you know, the interest that it earned. And that's the interest, you know, so in a way it's more like a loan, as opposed to like pooling of funds, you know, to produce some type of, you know, entrepreneurial product. And so that's kind of, you know, the key difference there. You know,
yeah. And I think the timing,
we developed, we made, you know, like me or Golki, like not, we may not even be the ones that actually deploy the contract, you know, like the code is there, and you know, it may not even be either one of us who deploys it. And you know, none of us have access to, you know, nobody has access to those funds. You know, it's like the Maximus contract is an address that's programmed to do like 3 different things, and that's all it can do. You know, it can, like, you know, mint Maxi, it can redeem Maxi for hex, and it can stake the hex, and that's literally it's like that's all the address knows how to do. And so, you know, that's kind of how.
Yeah. Mr. E said, no admins. We mint our Maxi and redeem our Maxi. Correct. Exactly. Naeem said, and I buy from the weak hands. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another important piece there is, like, you know, that whole premium discount cycle. You know, like as much as, you know, we would want, like, you know, you to go all in minting Maxi, like, honestly, it's probably like, if you're really serious about like the value proposition of Maxi, it'll be good for you to keep some liquid hex to buy, you know, to be a liquidity provider, to be or to be buy support. You know, when there's a discount, you want to be buying, because it's like you're literally like, say, you know, Maxi minting goes 1 to 1, minting. A couple months later, maybe some Maxi holders want to cash out. Maybe Hex is pumping and they want to cash out. So they're selling their Maxi, and maybe there's not a lot of Maxi or Hex in the liquidity pool. So now the price is one Maxi is on the market for zero point 0.8 Hex. Or did I get that backwards? Where one Hex will buy you 1.5 Maxi. And so by buying 1.5 Maxi, you're at least buying 1.5 Hex with your 1 Hex, plus all the Hex that it is set to earn, plus all the hedger it's set to earn. So like, holding liquid Hex and buying those discounts, that's like a vitally important part of the ecosystem. And there's massive incentive there, because it's literally like, why wouldn't you turn 1 Hex in hand into 2 Hex in the bush? It's like 100% redeemable and like trustless, So like, keeping liquid Hex, I think, is really important. And it's like the like for people that have, just like might learn about this after the minting, or maybe like once they see it working and once they see it not breaking after a while, like, then they're able to hold it. Like, there's still value there too, because like, you could either like buy Hex and then stake it for 14 years, or you could, a year from now, you could just buy Maxi. And then by buying Maxi in a year, it's like as if you're buying Hex and staking for 14 years, which is still a stake. And
I think
on the earlier share rate, you couldn't even get, so like that could even be a big source of buy pressure on Maxi, is that you're locked into that, like say in 5 years from now, you want to do a 10-year stake, you can buy some, and maybe there's like a discount, or maybe it's just at par value. You're buying Maxi, and it's like as if you staked for 10 years, but you have locked into the share rate at the Maxi launch. So, it adds like, kind of like a whole new dimension to, like staking, where like you don't have to do the staking yourself, and you're able to lock in the earlier share rate. But who knows? Maybe that'll just be factored into a constant premium. Maybe this like discount thing that we like dream about, like maybe it's fantasy land. Like maybe like no one will sell their Maxi for less than 1 Hex. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it will be interesting. But it's almost like, it's the only project I've ever seen with like complete dump protection, because it's like, if you're dumping, if someone, mints all this Maxi, there's just like no real incentive to like really try to dump the price down, because it's like there will always be that backing value. So you're essentially, you're not just selling a coin, you're selling the future value of the redemption value. And so, I mean, I would love for someone to day one dump Maxi, because it's like, I'll buy that up in a second. Give me that discount, because it starts out 1-to-1. If it dumps, you're getting super cheap T-share price. It's crazy. So let's see. Mystery said maybe not less than 1 Hex, but they may sell for less than the value of the backing value. Exactly. Yeah. So it'll be really interesting. We've been working on a dashboard to kind of like provide some scope on visualizing kind of those two values. And I think honestly, I think it's it'll be a lot more clear, understanding kind of the values personally than like trying to value a 5555 like NFT, because it's like, I mean, it's kind of just like what the market decides there. But with Maxi, it's like the market value's there always, right? And so you always know how much Hex has been accumulated, and look at projections of what the redemption value in the future. One thing that is interesting, Brian told me, was that, the second we start the stake, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but the second we start it, we'll know how much Hedron we'll be able to mint. Is that correct?
Yeah. Because you can calculate the Hedron by its number of, let's see, let me get this right. Hedron Etherscan. I'm just gonna look at the code.
So with that being the case, that's a variable that we'll be able to lock in. We'll know. The only other unknown variables will be like Hedron price, Hex T-share payout, which you can kind of you can pretty well estimate, and then hex price. So those are kind of the unknown variables that kind of tie in. You know, another one we haven't really looked into, but we could look into T-share rate and showing some kind of comparison between, essentially a maxi T-share rate versus like the going rate, right? We could also build something like that.
Yeah, because what you're okay. Well, so to answer the first question, the hedron minted is the hex stake B shares times the days served. So in our case, once we start the stake, we'll know how many hex or how many T shares we get. So T shares times 1,000 to get B shares times 5,555. That's going to be the hedron. So we're actually going to know how much hedron we're going to get at the end, and and the hedron price will always it's there. And so like then it goes back to like at today's rate, we're going to get this amount of value out of the hedron. Who knows what the price can be in 15 years? There's a lot of factors that go into that. And so that's like an unpredictable thing. How many hex is that hedron going to be worth? Because like at the end of the day, like it's all like denominated in hex. And that's part of, and that was what I didn't say earlier when that guy asked about like the total supply, like the 1-to-1 minting was chosen also to be able to measure easily like measure and just like understand intuitively like what the ROI of staking with Maxi is. It's like you go from 1-to-1 and then whatever the redemption rate is, that's your ROI. So it makes that calculation easier. And then the hedron thing kind of adds just like more to it. And some I thought about doing, but it was going to be too hard to do, and I wouldn't have known a way to do it without admin keys. I almost made it so where while it minted the hedron, it swapped it for hex on Uniswap. And then we're just bundled in the hex. But that was going to be difficult, and you don't know which Uniswap pool is going to be that. So like there are some things that made that impossible. But so like all that value is just kind of bundled in. And then what were you saying about the estimating future value?
Yeah. Well, okay. I do want to pick your brain about something that that Hedron kind of sparked a conversation around, and in this kind of switching topics, but I'd love to talk about and pick your brain about liquidity pairs. We talked about how Maxi and Hex would be an amazing pair, but what's interesting with Hedron is like people are cashing out their Hedron into USDC. And so that was the dominant pair. And then, the OA created this massive liquidity pool for Hex. And I just don't know if I haven't really looked at it, but I don't know if people are going to utilize it as much as like USDC just because they're trying to cash out. So, what pairs do you think with Maxi would be the most solid? Why Hex and not USDC?
Well, so to touch on what you said about like the main hedger pair was USDC, and then there's now the big hedron Hex one. All the pools kind of like, especially because like Uniswap like does order routing, where like as part of your transaction, maybe like what you specify on the on your dash, on your Uniswap dashboard is you want to swap hedron for USDC. It's going to route through the most liquid pair. So it'll actually go hedron Hex, then Hex USDC, because the hedron Hex pool is most liquid, and then the Hex USDC pool is most liquid. And so like when you're doing that, even you may not actually, unless you specifically say like enter that transaction into one that's not routing for optimized trading. So like the pools, they really do all kind of blend together, as a result of that order routing and then arbitrage. So like that's it kind of doesn't matter how, like which pools, but in general it's good to tie your liquidity to something that you think will at least maintain its value. So like that's why the US, like the stable coin liquidity pools and Hex, that's a good strategy, because it makes it a little bit less reliant on other cryptos. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like you gain the benefit of like when ETH is dumping in price, it's not just like automatically bringing down the value of Hex, you know, as it would if like the primary liquidity was Hex ETH.
Yeah.
You know, but on the other side, when ETH is pumping, we don't get, you know, the USDC on that liquidity pool isn't pumping. You know, it's going down relative to ETH. And so it kind of works both ways.
Yeah.
You know,
why would Maxi and Hex be a good pair?
Okay, so the Maxi and Hex is a good pair. One for just like showing that premium, because like the minting is 1-to-1, and then you know what the redemption is going to be in Hex. Having the price quoted in Hex just makes sense for like when you're trying to assess, you know, like how much of a premium are you paying or how much of a discount you're getting, because like you really don't know what the like, you know, should the discount be based on, you know, how much it's earned to date? Should the discount be based on, you know, how do you factor in future earnings? How do you know how accurate it is? So like, you know, just having those three figures where it's just like Maxi and Hex, you know, it just kind of makes it all more intuitive. And also, you know, having the big liquidity pool being in Hex, you know, because if you're in Maxi, you obviously love Hex, and that's like attractive for a liquidity provider, because, you know, if you're a liquidity provider in the Max Hexi pool, then one, it's like every time someone buys Maxi with Hex, you get a little bit of Hex, and anytime someone sells Maxi, you're getting a little Maxi, so you're really getting a little more Hex. And so like you as a liquidity provider are earning, you know, you're earning Hex and you're earning Maxi. So it's really like being a liquidity provider is an alternative way to earn Hex yield, because you know, you're providing liquidity there. And because Maxi is like it's kind of like a stable coin. It's like a Hex-backed stable coin.
Yeah.
Stable coins are the best ones to provide liquidity for, because the price never goes outside of too far of a range. And for like the liquidity pools that are the most profitable to supply liquidity for, those are the ones that stay within a tight range, because like, you know, like when, you know, because you're getting more of both of them, you know, and especially if there's a lot of arbitrage going on, that's like doing a lot of trading volume just to like kind of balance the price out, because it's like, you know, it's redeemable, and like, you know, it's, you know, like that makes it, you know, like that added volume, more volume means more fees, you know, more fees, that's better for the, you know, the liquidity providers. And then also the, like, compared to other types of, you know, like say we were going to do like I personally wouldn't want to add to the Maxi Hex or Maxi USDC pool, because, you know, I believe that Hex is going to go up in value a lot, and then Maxi kind of amplifies that, you know, because it captures the upside of the hedgerin and the Hex yield. And so like when one side of the pool just pumps forever, you as the liquidity provider are losing money, because you're selling, you know, all the way up. So it's like, you know, you as the liquidity provider, when the price of if the price of Maxi goes up relative to the USDC, at the end of the day, you end up with a bunch of USDC, and that's not the thing that went up in value.
Yeah.
And so like being a liquidity provider for the Maxi USDC pair, that may, you know, that's probably not very, you know, you could expect a lot of that in permanent loss. You know, and so I
that makes sense though. So like with that Maxi Hex pair, you know, if one goes up, you get one of a lot more of the other, right? And so with both of those, it's like a win-win, because with Maxi, that's essentially Hex anyway. Like if you think about it with the redemption value, like if it were to go that way and you get more Maxi, or if you go the other way and you get more Hex, it's like, you know, it's hard. There is no loss there, because it's essentially Hex on Hex, right? And Hex and Hedron. So that's cool. Yeah, this is definitely the part of Maximus that really gets me excited, is this yield on yield concept, because it's essentially, you know, taking a T share. Like if you were staking on your own, you know, you T shares aren't real, you know, but you're able to utilize T shares basically to earn yield in any way you want, while you're earning the maximum yield from Hex. I think that's insane. You know, it's never been done before. So
that's like, provided that like there's things to earn yield with. So one would be the liquidity like providing liquidity in the Maxi Hex pool. That's like, to me, the most immediate one that like, you can start doing. The, you know, the other way would be if like if we were able to, and maybe this is something that we as a community start to do, is to look for ways to get Maxi listed on these decentralized lending platforms like Compound, Aave, Cream Finance, if that's still around, like all these different like DeFi protocols where, you like that, because that's like a big source of yield, at least for stable coins, because, well, I mean, kind of everything, because, you borrow stable coins to go long something. You borrow USDC to buy ETH, you hope ETH goes up, and then you can pay your USDC loan back.
Yeah.
Or, you borrow ETH because you want to short it. You borrow the ETH, you sell it, and then, you hope ETH price goes down so you can reclaim that ETH to pay the loan back.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, Maxi may be a way for us to give the haters a way to short Hex, and, Maxi's like, even, it even makes it harder to short because, like, even if the Hex price goes down 20% and our, over like, say over, 4 months, say the Hex price goes down, 20%. If our
Mm-hmm.
MaxLink stake is earning like the 60% APY for MaxLink stake, which I think it would be, it's like the amount that it had earned in that time is equal to the percent price that went down. And so, like, Maxi could even further squeeze the shorts because, like, the price really needs to go down in order for their short to be profitable. And so, like, and with Maxi being, like separate from Hex, where it's like a kind of a layer on top of it, it can kind of remove like the volatility, even though it's a good thing. You want liquidations of Hex shorts because that pumps the price. But also, like, if people are just shorting Hex directly, they're selling the Hex price down as opposed to selling the Maxi price down. We're like, we want people to sell the Maxi price down when we want to be buying. When we want to be selling it at a premium, you want people to not be doing that. It's like you want people to be shorting it, pushing the Maxi price down. You load your bags up, and then we just short squeeze the fuck out of them. And then as they, the Maxi price goes up, they get liquidated. We reclaim the Maxi and, whatever they didn't pay back or whatever they paid back. And so, like, Maxi may be a good way to break Hex into the, like, margin trading world without it being the Hex that's actually being margin traded. So that like that provides opportunity for you to make yield on your Maxi that's not related to liquidity providing, because you can lend your Maxi to a hater who wants to short, you're shorting Hex by shorting Maxi. And so, if there's a lot of demand for people to short Maxi, or maybe it's a Hex bear market and people want to short Maxi.
Why would someone short Maxi though? Because it's like the backing value. If
you think that the Hex price is going to go down by more than the Maxi earns, so like, so if there's a lot of demand for that, it can be a good opportunity for earning yield. But if there's no demand, because it's a tough thing to short, right? I mean, it's like even though there's not really a way to short Hex other than just like selling high and then buying low, like there's no like margin shorting Hex. If there was, it's like there's pretty much been like there was like a 5-month window of time between May of 2020 to October of 2020 that would have been that kind of first bear market in Hexaco, and then now this bear market we've been in since like so like we're reaching kind of it's like there's been 10 months out of the I don't know what, like almost 26-month Hex that would be a fine time to short, and so like it's already a tough thing to short.
Will had a question. He said, would the in-stake fee be ran by whoever wants to do it at the end, or could the total pool absorb that cost?
Great question. So the way that it is now, it's just anyone can run it. And so the reason I chose to do that is because, one, like, people are already going to be paying gas to end their own individual MaxLink stakes anyways. So like, like someone will have enough Maxi to, where it just makes sense for them, where it's just like they're ending it and it's just like as if they had ended it for their own stake. And so like, for that reason. And also like the no expectation, like if you want that stake to end, you got to do it, or, and then, and also, like it by not forcing anybody to pay for it, it like really enhances that value proposition for the smaller stakers who, like it wouldn't make sense for you to stake under, like however many hex, for that stake to be worth ending. And so like that I think is a really big value proposition for those smaller users, because they really, the only gas they have to pay is either to mint or to swap into, mint during minting, or just swap on the pool. That's the only gas you pay to get in. And then the only gas you pay to get out is the redemption. And the redemption gas it's trivial. It's like equivalent to like an airdrop, like how much gas you pay for an airdrop, So I think the Hedron claim was like, I paid between like $10 and $20. And so it brings the price point of like that stake exposure down in a big way for those people. And it's like, people are already showing that they're willing to pay that gas anyways. And so long as one person wants to do it, they can. Other ways, that like, whomever chooses to do it, I'll probably just send them a little bit of ETH, like, and I would encourage other people to do the same, because that's like a kind thing that they did. And but no one should have the expectation that anyone sends you ETH. If you're running that, like you're running it and that you're not getting anything for it. But
and we have talked about, I mean, we do have 15 years to figure this out, right? Like to end a single gas fee, which I think, I think we will have enough participation to figure this out as a community. And if we did choose to, want to, I mean, we're the pooling experts now. So I think we could figure out a way to, to create a pool to end this stake as well. But
was, well, like one way that could be like an easy solution would be where whomever ends the stake, they get to flush whatever Ethereum is in the address. So like if you wanted to contribute to the gas pool, you could just send some ETH to the contract. And then whoever runs the end stake function, they could flush that ETH to their wallet. So like that's one way that like we could kind of do that in a trustless-ish way, trustlessness-ish way. But then, then people that choose to contribute to a stake pool or to an end stake gas pool can, and everyone who doesn't, can't. So that's one way to do it. I didn't want to make it a requirement to like, all, because we could just add like to mint, every time you mint Maxi, you have to pay a, 0.01 ETH. Like, you send in the hex and 0.01 ETH, but then like it's extra friction, people may not have ETH, and it kind of like deteriorates that like gas-free staking value proposition. And so, there's a couple ways to do it. And, maybe for different,
I think currently we have the best way to do it.
I like that way too. I mean, it's kind of the industry standard. Like when you look at like Ample, the rebase on Ample, it's something that someone just has to run every day, and it's, no one has to run it, and there's no incentive to run it. But every day someone runs it, and they're just eating that cost. And so like it is common for like, a large stakeholder to lose a little bit, but to them, it might be sweat off your ass if you don't care.
One thing I was thinking about last night is like, I mean, the concept of pooling funds is nothing new, and it's actually, I think, been kind of understood, especially in the past year with these sacrifices. These pools have been popping up, but I feel like with Maximus, we are setting a new standard for pools with how we're making it trustless. And I've been so surprised how trusting people are with some of these pools. It's pretty crazy to me that like, not even like they don't even know if it's a multi-sig, and people are managing funds in an Excel spreadsheet to like, maximize. So people are sending their money to people, no expectations, right? But like that's risky to me. Like it's pretty crazy. And so I'm happy. I think with the standard we're setting, I think, you know, people should follow that and try to build trustless pools in the future and not, you know, not do it the way they've been doing it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, also it kind of work, you know, it works so long as like there's like social consensus and like social trust involved. And, you know, so like, you know, but like as soon as that breaks, you know, that's like a critical failure.
yeah,
And, you know, that may be the risk that people are, you know, willing to take if, you know, because like there is like, you know, I mean, I imagine there are people that like that have no idea who the people are that were like, you know, pooling for that. But like, you know, we met these people in Vegas, you know, we've been in the chats with them or on streams with them since 2019. And so
yeah.
like, you know, you kind of get to know, you know, but which, you know, they could absolutely just run off with the funds. And then it's
Yeah,
like,
and not saying anyone's nefarious, you know,
yeah.
but
And
it is
I've
it's
heard of any
like
schools
the
that went bust.
yeah, just counterparty risk of someone managing those funds. Not saying that they're gonna like rug pull everyone, just like
Yeah. What if
shit
they mess up?
happens, right? Yeah,
You know,
they
what if they
like you
didn't
know,
back up the keys, or what
yeah,
if they, you know, or what if, you know, what if something happened to them, and, you know,
yeah,
you never know. So
yeah.
yeah, I agree. I think that our this like version of pooling is really effective. And, um, you know, because you get the benefits of the pooling without any of the risks,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so
Mystery said the bigger pays better bonus was going to be obsolete for most until trustless pools like Maximus come around. Absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah. We were touching on that earlier. It's just upside, right? Like the more X we get. And I think another thing back on the point about do we want as much maxi minted as possible. I had actually asked Dibcatcher about this as well, just because, you know, with more tokens does come more opportunity with like liquidity providing and more action in the market. Could you touch on that a little more, Dibcatcher?
yeah. So like the right amount that gets minted is the amount that gets minted. Like there's no like
Mm-hmm.
ideal amount. You know, because it kind of works in both ways. You know, and it depends on like who you are and what your perspective is. Because like if you're somebody who, you know, you're going all in on minting your maxi, you want less people to mint because you want to be selling at a premium. So you want a lot of people ready to buy, you know, because you don't gain anything from your friend also minting. You know, so like if that's the category that you're in, then you want less people to mint, you want more people buying. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're somebody who, you know, is, you know, is minting in maxi, you know, with like a portion of your, you know, of yours, you want as many people to be all in minting, because then that's a lot of people that already have the maxi that,
Mm-hmm.
and then less people who, you know, maybe know about maxi who are ready to buy, because then there could be a good
Mm-hmm.
discount. So if you're in that category of
Yeah.
person, you want more minting, less liquid hex, because
Mm.
then you could get more maxi at a discount later on. So
So
like just
there's really like
your own personal perspective. Yeah.
yeah, that's interesting. I think I've been in like kind of an accumulation mindset, and so for me, I would love, you know, more people to mint, because I mean obviously the bigger pays better bonus is a plus, but in my mind it's like the more people that have maxi, the more opportunity or a higher chance that someone in that group will want to sell, and I want to buy more at some point. So, but you're right. So there is, you know, I've been kind of stuck in my own bias on that, but like on the other side, if you're someone that wants to sell maxi at some point, then having less would actually be beneficial, because then they'd probably be buying from you, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Is that
Yeah. Yeah, and
interesting?
also,
That's
you know,
cool.
it's
Yeah.
like that's kind of like, you know, those two different strategies, like for people that could come to Maxi with, like, you know, those are like the financial like strategies. Like if you're someone that wants less gas to be being paid to Ethereum miners, you want everybody minting Maxi. because what that means is that people are buying hex and then, so pushing the price up a little bit, locking it for 15 years, removing it from the USDC liquidity pools. Those hex aren't for sale. And then at the end of the stake, rather than, so say like literally every time that MaxLink stake bot goes off, which I need to fix my Zapier account to turn it back on. But every time I see that now with Hedron, there's like 200 MaxLink stakes a day. Every time I see that, and just like my, back the envelope calculation of like 1 ETH per MaxLink stake, I'm like, holy shit. Like this is going to be 100 or 200 Ethereum that could otherwise be supporting the price of Hex that is now being sold to pay ETH miners who they're dumping the price of ETH, but maybe some of the ETH gets burnt, so it kind of pumps it. But so like for maintaining economic energy in Hex, the pooling is very important. Because because that's like if every person, say we get like 500 maxi holders, through the minting, like those people could have otherwise staked on their own. They're all paying that start stake, which it's just a couple bucks, but it still adds up across everyone. That's more Hex they could have held, and then at the end, that's where it really adds up. So, like, if you care about the Hexican economy, you want everybody to be staking through Maxi because it like maintains value in us and not within the miners. Like any ETH miners, they're not in our chat groups. They're not. Maybe some ETH miners are. You don't know, but like really, they're not one of us. And so it'd be better to do that.
Will said
also, if you're on the side of the people that think it's bad for Hex for there to be encapsulation or being able to not delay gratification even though you're getting the Hex yield for it, like if you're one of those people, you want no one minting Maxi. So there's something for everyone. There's a strategy for everybody. And it all just kind of works. And, there's no right solution. It's like the right solution is just what emerges, because that's just what the people say.
Will said, we're all going to win. Can you emphasize how it's going to be on both chains? Yeah. So, the goal here is to launch the main product on Ethereum before the Pulse chain fork so that everyone's going to receive a copy of their Maxi on both chains. So that's really exciting. And we're pretty confident just with how Pulse chain, no one knows when it's going to launch, but I'm pretty confident we'll get this launched before then. The interesting thing though is if we do miss that, we will launch on both chains. And essentially, the way you could view that as a participant of Maximus. So basically if we do it before the fork, you'll get your copy of Maxi on both chains, which is essentially a copy of your Hex as well, right? If we do miss that fork in the copy, you're going to receive your Hex on both chains, right? You're going to receive that copy. So you'll be able to use that Hex on each chain to mint Maxi as well. So but again, we're very confident we're going to launch before the fork. It's going to be awesome. So, it's going to be really interesting to watch Maxi on both chains. It's going to be, who knows what's going to be. Oh, awesome. You figured out how to highlight. There you go. I couldn't do it on my end.
Sorry to interrupt what you're saying there, but I wanted to touch on what you said here. In like a very early stream, like had to have been from it might have even been a stream before Hex launched. Richard was talking about the bigger pays better was to incentivize pooling. So like in a way, like what we're creating is literally like something that Richard created. He made the bigger pays better. And so like that's honestly that's probably why because I've received like virtually no pushback at all. The only pushback I ever received was the first time I ever mentioned it. Rom Override on Twitter said, "Fuck DAOs suck. Like they're not like he's like they're not trustless." And that actually was really important feedback because at that time, and also I'll kind of get into someone else asked like the origin story, Maximus, but at that time I was looking into how to do this through Aragon DAO, and in order to do that, it actually would have required a serious amount of trust during the minting.
Yeah.
And then like during the redemption, it would have been like really tricky and like people could have messed
yeah.
up.
It was like socially enforced. Like basically with Aragon, people would have put in a request to mint, and then someone would have to spend the time to verify that before they could mint it or challenge it. And then we've come so far from that. I still consider us a DAO. Like, we are a decentralized autonomous organization. I think we're more of a DAO than the DAOs out there. We're more autonomous than that. It's just, we are moving away from the DAO piece of the name just because there is no governance. And I think a lot of people, when they hear DAO, they think of like some governance token, which Maxi is not. So, yeah.
It's like the governance. It's like the governance decisions were already made. Like we took the intuitive best solution answer. Like, okay, what type of stake? Rather than having people vote and burn thousands or tens of thousands of dollars of gas voting on how many days we should stake, why don't we just do the most yield for the longest time?
Yeah.
Like, easy choice. Boom. Like, how do we do the issuance? Okay, well, what makes most sense? 1-to-1, then you can track performance, and it just like all you do is update one value at the end of the contract, and then the redemptions just work. Like, it's like those decisions that, like, if you could think of all the things that you could vote on to make this all work, those are the things that you would vote on. And, so like that, it's like we're a DAO in like a very strong sense.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the term DAO, it's so flexible, like, in many ways, I view Hex as like the most successful DAO. It's like, the voting happened. Like the only thing you vote on in Hex is, should the interest rate be higher or lower? If you want the interest rate higher, you don't stake. If you want the interest rate lower, you stake. And so like that's the only thing
you're like voting through the market, right?
And you're voting by your stakes. Like you're and you have to bear the risk of casting your vote. Like if you say, I want the interest rate to be lower, and you max length stake, and then price pumps and pumps and pumps, then by the time your stake ends, it dumps. You bore that risk of expressing that you want lower interest rates, and by foregoing the opportunity cost, by bearing the opportunity cost of sitting through a pump when you're staked. So like it's like the Hex itself is kind of like a DAO. It's like there's kind of like decentralized like marketing efforts that go on. No one gets paid, but everyone's getting paid. Everyone who's staked. It's like there's your incentive to to grow it. You're not getting like paid. Kind of how like a lot of DAOs like they have like bounties where like if you make marketing content, you can redeem these tokens. It's not like that. It's like you get them by staking anyways, but just like the act of you getting them and them being valuable, it just encourages people to take those efforts on. So it's like, and so that's why I think Hex is a really strong, DAO. And then Maxi on top of it, it's like a financial derivative on top of this DAO where like it is. And also, there's always the option where like we could create a DAO where the governance like kind of a more formal DAO with like voting and projects and proposals and all that stuff. We could make a DAO where the governance token is the Maxi that we're already issuing. Like on Aragon DAO, you can either create a new governance token or you can just use an existing token. And so like, say we wanted to make a DAO whose purpose was to be a liquidity provider for Maxi. Like we could, build that DAO and then like have the DAO vote on liquidity strategies. We could have the DAO vote on like marketing, like it's like, and then in that case, like those, like the people that it'd be like an opt-in DAO where like, if you have Maxi, you can choose to join this DAO where like, it probably, may have like another ticker, like some of the thing where like you can, the people that join get some benefit. So there's ways that we can kind of extend more into DAO, but I don't think it's necessarily that important. Lee Pico asked a great question. How can we be sure that all these smart contracts have 100% uptime for 15 years? That's what they said in their following. So on one hand, like the contracts work on Ethereum. If you believe that Ethereum is permanent, then that's how you know that they'll always be around. Or if you believe Pulse Chain is permanent. And so the way that you ensure that there's permanence in these blockchains is you pay the fee. Like if the only thing that would stop these things from working is if there was no demand for the block space and those miners had no incentive to publish new blocks. And so like, so long as there's fee paying blockchain participants, you can be certain that the contract will have 100% uptime forever. And so, that's how you can be certain. And then from there, it's, it's like not just the uptime that you care about, but like there's, will it execute as expected? And that comes with, code review, audit, just pricing in the risk. People just need to price it. Like you need to, every person, whether they know it or not, when they're measuring how much they're willing to pay for a token or how long they're willing to hold a token at what price, what you're really doing is you're pricing in all these different risks. There's the future exchange rate risk. There's, smart contract uptime risk, so like everyone's kind of priced that in, and all that just gets reflected in price. And so, even if things don't have perfect uptime, it just gets reflected in the price, and it actually kind of tends to work out. But overall, long answer short, so long as there's fee paying people on these blockchains, you can guarantee that the smart contracts will be around for 15 years.
So great question. If anyone else has a question they want to ask, definitely feel free to drop it in the comments. Also, guys, hit that thumbs up,
that like button, smash subscribe,
smash it. Dude, it's good to be back streaming. StreamYard is actually an awesome platform. Like 100% uptime so far. I was using OBS before, and that's why I stopped streaming, because it just kept getting rubbed. Like,
okay, so I'm gonna answer this question. Archimedes, dude, amazing name. Archimedes, I love that. I'm not even kidding. I will name a dog that, or a child. I'm not even kidding. That's an amazing name. When did you come up with the idea? So truly, the idea came to me like before Hex even existed. Like when in that old Richard interview, he talked about like, in the future, pooling may the bigger pays better, incentivizes pooling. Gas may be so expensive that pooling is necessary. And so that was like the seed of the idea. Then I got, just kind of, I didn't know what to do with it. And then over time, when I started seeing the ETH fees creep up, I think the first time I ended a stake, I was like, what the fuck? Like, and then when it hit me that the longer the stakes are, every day the calculation for calculating interest adds a little bit of gas for each day that goes on. So every day that goes on, your stake is going to cost a little bit more to end stake. When that kind of clicked with me, then I was like, okay, like most of these stakes that I'm seeing are probably going to be infeasible to end stake, which on one hand, it's actually very bullish for the price. Like the more people that max length stake and then can't end it, they're not going to be competing in the liquidity pools as a seller with you at that time. So like, it sucks to knowing that people are putting money in and then it's going to be locked forever because they probably won't be able to afford ending stake, or they'll just be able to get more hex by just buying ETH with the gas that they would be paying. So it kind of sucks for them, but like, it's actually very bullish for the price, so like, even if this wasn't solved, like, it benefits, the larger holders, but like, I really wanted to, especially when I'm like onboarding people and talking to people who maybe aren't like advanced users or just getting started, they're not putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into crypto. They're putting hundreds of dollars into crypto. It's like, I couldn't like in good faith tell them to stake, like most people, like over the last year, I really haven't even encouraged staking, cause like price has been running. So like, you could either get 40% more hex, by staking a year, or you could just like sell into a 40% pump and then rebuy in a dip. And like, you have to bear that a little bit extra risk, that the dip may never come. But like, I truly haven't been telling people to be actively staking, unless they're in larger sums. And so like building Maximus was important to me because now this is a solution for like all the people that I've onboarded who are like, kind of, they want to do the staking, but like, in their, like bracket, it doesn't make sense. Now this is like a real solution to them. And so those were kind of the motivating factors. And then um, one of our friends, him and I, we started kind of fleshing through a concept originally. The original concept, it had a fee, it had ongoing minting, so it had like a whole like stake evaluation component, where like the minting, like the minting rate got adjusted every time someone minted, and every day that went by, it had to measure the stake value, and it had to like project the future value. And so the problems with that is that like it kind of it ate into the low gas fee value proposition, because in order to in order to update the minting rate every day, someone would have to pay the gas to read the hex contract and update ours. And so it kind of, I mean, someone would have had to do that every day, and it would have just like kind of passed that cost on to all the minters. So that kind of sucked, and that would have been very difficult to like get right. Like how do you appraise the future value of a stake? Because like if you're entering, and it was going to be kind of more like a stake ladder, and like so it had all these layers of complexity that like based on like like me and the guy that I was working on it with, like we're both full stack software engineers, but it's still kind of outside the scope of what we could reasonably produce in a short amount of time. And so then from there I just kind of went to like, okay, what's like the like simplest, lowest effort way to deliver the end result, which is just pooling a stake. Like that's like the key deliverable in this case, is just like a successful pooled stake. So then I started figuring out how to build out with just like existing DAO tools. So I looked into all the different DAO launching platforms, and I had actually made a version on Aragon DAO, which was like kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's like this like socially enforced thing where like who knows what could go wrong, and like who knows what weird incentives it could create. And so like that one wasn't quite a solution, and like the minting, it required a layer of trust. And then I started kind of bridging down. I was like, okay, like is there any like easy solutions that like allow you to like programmatically mint coins based on deposits? I found a site called thirdweb.com. They have like a tool that lets you like like issue a token that you manage through like a Python API, which I love Python. So that like, so I tried that out. That was fully trustful minting. Like you would have had to trust me as the operator and the admin key holder to mint the coins that I said I was going to mint, and then not mint anymore. So that had like a serious degree of trust. And I was like, okay, like that's like a non-starter. Like, this really needs to be trustless. And then at that point I was like, I'm just going to do it in Solidity, like fully custom contracts. So I kind of like started with like, like a larger concept, boiled it down to what was going to be deliverable and what could I produce on my own. And then it kind of just converged to just writing the custom smart contract, which ended up being like 100 times easier than I thought it was going to be. Like Open Zeppelin does all the hard work. And so that's kind of how it all kind of came to be. And I actually had a version, like a test version, like almost a month ago, that, and then I've just kind of been like refining it, and then now we have like our full public test. And so that it's kind of been an ongoing development for, kind of since I first got into Hex. But now it's gotten, now it's like actually more feasible and practical, and we're right there.
Mr. E said, we need to find a quote of Richard saying that about BPP and pooling, great for marketing Maximus. So I tweeted a video from Richard Hart talking about this concept. And it's interesting, a lot of people get like really like defensive about building anything on Hex, but it's crazy, how much Richard has actually talked about it himself, and the fact that he wants people to build this stuff. Like that video is actually before Hex even launched. His mind was already thinking about what people should build to add to this economy. And so, I'll actually retweet that from the Maximus Twitter. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, we actually are running a giveaway right now. So we're giving away 1,000 Hex All you have to do is follow us on Twitter, Maximus_DAO. And then there's a tweet. It's called the Gladiator Giveaway. So all you have to do is just like and retweet that. We're trying to grow this. This is a very grassroots project. Like I have mentioned before, we don't have a marketing budget. So shout out to Tonto for actually sponsoring this giveaway. We want everyone to win. The more people in, the bigger pays, better bonus. So that's a big upside. So let's all push for that. But we have already gotten some, it looks like we've gained, let's see, I think we're about to cross 500 followers on Twitter, which is awesome.
Nice.
So yeah, first big landmark. It looks like, this giveaway's grown us about 150 people. So that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Telegram, it looks like we're a 187. So about to cross 200. That's awesome, man. Exciting stuff.
/ what is it? Maximus DAO?
Maximus DAO, yeah.
No underscore?
No, I don't think so. So I've got about 10 minutes left. Is there anything, or I mean, you can keep going. I just got to drop. I've got to go somewhere. But
Naeem Khan says, great stream, very informative. Thank you.
Naeem, thank you so much.
Yeah, chat, dude. I see you. CK. So he says CK says pooling's been done already. No one used it. I think a lot of people did. So the Toucan Air, that thing that Trevon made, that was like the original like pooling, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. And there was like also some things way back in the day like Hex 2X, which was like I don't know if it was a scam, but they just like executed poorly, and they got, like the contract kept getting hacked and rug pulled, and there was like Hex 2X, then it turned like Hex 2T, then like Hex 2T 2X, like all this weird stuff. And so like he's right that the pooling has been done, but also like the just like the timing of it all, the pooling was back when there were only like with Toucan Air, I knew that launched like almost right after Hex launched. So that was like one of the first, that was like 2019 or early 2020. And so like at that time, like how many, so if we go to apphex.win, way back then there was only 5,000 Hex stakers.
How did they actually do it? Was it like fully trustless how we're doing it, or what did they build?
Trustless-ish, probably admin keys in there. Fees, it was like you paid to get in and paid to get out type of thing. You could mint your rewards on a regular basis, like so kind of completely different. But at that time there were only like, so at the let's see, let me zoom back to so like right when around the time Toucan Air launched, there were like 10,000 stakers. Now there's 117,000 unique wallets that have staked. So like at that time, there was like 10 times as few people. Yeah. The gas fees weren't an issue at all.
And people were like trying to figure out like how to strategize Hex already. So, yeah. I think you're on the point, like with timing, it's been 2 years now. People actually understand, the benefit of staking longer. One thing that I've like been starting to, I'm actually in the process of writing a blog about is comparing a staking ladder to Maximus, and how, with a staking ladder, essentially what you're doing is you're providing yourself with that optionality for liquidity at different kind of points, whether it's like every year or you pick the time frame right. And the downside of that, for one, is that you're kind of picking arbitrary dates that you think you might need funds, right? Like, oh, I'm turning 30. I remember when I was creating my ladder, it's like, oh, I'm turning 35. Maybe I'll need money then. And so, you get to that date, and essentially what you have the choice to do is either, liquidate some or all of that position to sell, which is great, or you reinvest it, right? But the cost for that optionality is in T-shares, right? The shorter you stake, if you are to restake that during that ladder, you're basically buying back those T shares at a much higher rate, right? So Maximus gives you that optionality without that cost, which is huge. So I'll definitely be
like outside just the optionality, you can hold Maximus and like you based on how you sell it or like how you operate with it, you can almost make it kind of like a ladder because like, okay, so say, you know, you would otherwise want to do a stake ladder where, you know, every year for 15 years, you you have a stake end and you want to like, you know, break off some of the interest, you know, maybe restake the principal. So rather than doing that, you can, you know, after a year, you can see how many, you know, how much hex you're now redeemable for. And so say, you know, over that time, you know, you've earned, you know, like your maxi is redeemable for like 20% more hex. You know, so then that would make it so that you could sell 1/6 of your maxi, and then that's as if you only sold the interest that it had earned.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then like, you know, so you can break that out, you know, and then maybe, you know, you like try to time it with premiums, you know, because like if you're just to set a stake ladder, you better hope that there's a hexagon bull market when your stakes are ending. Whereas like with Maxi, you know, you can just hold that T-share exposure and then snipe out the premiums, you know, like then it's like you really only need to hit one premium a year. And then it's just like as if you had a stake ladder that, you know, you didn't have to pay the end stake for every time you have to pay the gas for the staking part, which is like way larger than the gas for just swapping. And then you can, you know, time to that premium better. And then it's, you know, it's just like a different way of approaching that, like, you know, strategy that a lot of people do where, you know, they want to hold hex, they want to stake hex, but they also like want to, you know, like break off some here and there.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I think, I mean, obviously like people get pissed off about selling, like when the price is down, everyone's pissed, but like, there's no shame in selling ever.
Yeah.
Like the name,
well, with
dip catcher, like the whole premise is dip, like price dips, like because it's like, you know, like, and this is a lot of the messaging early on, like when Richard would talk about why he chose certain parameters for hex, and why there's like a cap on the max length stake. It's to leave meat on the bone for the next group of people that are onboarding it. Yeah. And so like, you know, selling is good for, you know, like maybe it's bad for you if you want to sell and the price is low at that time, but for the people you onboard, you want there to be massive price nuke.
Yeah.
You know? And so like, you know, and it kind of plays in, you know, it all is just based on like your particular, you know, situation and perspective. You know, so like, you know, giving people like new opportunities to sell, you know, it hurts the OGs that are relying on, you know, selling to pay their luxury car note. You know, but it's better for the new people who are going to, you know, buy hex in a dip, experience a 5x in price. Now they're hooked. Now they're telling everyone. They bring on like the whole next cohort. You know, maybe that next cohort creates the top, and then you know, the ones that, you know, are able to survive and buy the dip, you know, then that's kind of like the next, you know, next generation.
Yeah.
Like selling, there's never shame in selling at all. You know,
but also Maxi removes sell pressure of hex if you think about it, because when someone liquidates, you know, with the staking ladder, you know, they get their hex, and with that optionality to get liquidity, they're selling their hex, right? With Maxi, it's locked. You know, if they want to liquidate, they're selling Maxi. So to me, it removes a huge sell pressure from the hex economy. I think it's a big plus. But yeah,
so there's a way to, like, I guess one pushback I would have on that is that if you're selling Maxi, so say the largest liquidity pool is hex, it's like you're taking hex that's in a Maxi hex liquidity pool, you're depositing more Maxi in there, so maybe you're contributing to a discount. You take hex that was not for sale in a USDC pool, and if you're actually cashing out, then hex that was in a maxi liquidity pool, which wasn't putting negative pressure on the USDC pair, now that is. So in a way, it like depending on what the person, if they're just like buying more hex, like so say someone sells maxi in a premium and then buys hex, and then MaxLink stakes the hex on their own, and that's because they removed, there was hex that was like in the maxi pool. They create a discount, but that's like, a good thing for, for buyers of Maxi, so you give the buyers of Maxi what they want, a low price. You get Hex, which, you can choose to stake on your own. And then that, doesn't put negative pressure on Hex. But when people are cashing out, at the end of the day, it's like the money that they're sending to their bank account could otherwise be in Hex.
Yeah.
And so like, in a way it does kind of, do that. But I mean, that's just meat on the bone for the next cohort. And that's just it's part of the game. You can't have endless pump without, periodic dump. And that's just, and we should celebrate that. And we should, always be preparing for that.
Yeah. All right. I got to drop. But if you want to stay on, I
just want to say, I'm gonna have to take off too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us. Do you have anything else to say, Stan?
No. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. It looks like we've had like 10 to 15 people on. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen. I don't know if you've added like the links in the description, but we've got a Twitter, a Telegram, and a website. So the test stake, we're in the middle of the public test phase for Maximus. The mint phase has ended. The stake has been started. So I believe it's a 5-day stake. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yep. So 5-day stake, and then there will be the redemption after that. So everyone has the ability to try out redeeming. If anyone wasn't able to mint and you missed out on that and you want to still participate, I'd be happy to send you some test Maxi so you can participate in the redemption. So just hit me up on Twitter. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. And also with the giveaway, feel free to hop in on that as well on Twitter. So thank you guys.
Thank you all. We'll see you soon.
Later.